Hello and welcome to Maester Monthly, your favorite pseudo-monthly podcast, hosted by the moderators of the Song of Ice and Fire subreddit. As always, before we begin, this podcast is spoilers extended, so material from the Winds of Winter sample chapters and the Game of Thrones TV show is fair game. You have been warned. My name is Michael, also known as Bookshelfstud.
And my name is Matt, also known as JoeMagician.
My name is Jen, also known as Jen Snow.
And we are joined for this very extra special episode by a very extra special guest. Give a warm Maester Monthly welcome, which I guess means like a nice YouTube comment, to ThePowerOfGeek, aka Andrew. Hello.
Hi folks, how you doing?
Hello, Lord Commander.
Oh, it's
good morning to you.
Good morning. Where are you at?
As he takes a swig of a drink.
I'm just role playing. I'm trying to get into I'm your
see.
steward in the Night's Watch.
All right, so you're Jon Snow and he's J.R. Mormont?
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, and you're like the pig shit sweeper.
Oh, dare
Who do
you.
I get to be?
I am very clearly Samwell Tarly.
There's no one. Dolores Ed?
You could be Yeah, that works.
I'll go with that one.
Okay.
That's probably least. Yeah. Carry on.
I like
Carry
how
on
you
with the
called
role
him
play.
Dolores Ed, like Dolores from Westworld. That's what I'm all going to think about now.
How do you really say that word?
I don't know.
Dolores.
How? Dolores?
Dolores.
Dolores.
Yeah.
Now you know the RP pronunciation of it, right? You have the
DeLorean?
DeLorean? DeLorean Ed? Where we're going, we don't need Eds?
I don't want to go to that place.
We're not. Okay, let's move past that. Yes, a very special welcome to the Power of Geek, TPOG, which is the acronym of the Power of Geek. Of course, you are the founder of the subreddit, which was founded on a date not that long ago.
Well, relatively speaking, I guess.
Yeah, geometrically speaking. Yeah, almost exactly 10 years ago.
Yep, just past 10 years. Ugh, wow.
That's
I
incredible.
feel old.
Gotta love that sigh.
yeah, the world-weary attitude of a man who's seen much.
When you sat down and created the subreddit, did you think that 10 years later, this is what you'd be spending your evening doing?
Hell no.
Look what you have wrought.
No kidding.
It's just like one big, like, I've made a huge mistake.
Matt's dead.
I'm
Do you want to do that again, or do you want to keep that?
No, we could keep that.
All right.
I think that's a good take.
Excellent. Yeah.
Makes your monthly caliber.
That's great. Well, yeah, so this is a special episode. This is actually, we've done a lot of Quillen Tankards and other things, but this is actually the 20th episode of Maester Monthly, like by itself.
Oh,
so this
nice.
is episode 20. Woo-hoo! This is the 10th anniversary of the subreddit. And, of course, we have our very special guest on. So this is a hallmark episode. And we've got a lot to talk about. A walk down memory lane, celebrating the good times. But before we get to that, as always, let's start with a little introduction question, just to get the juices flowing. Now, this is a thinker, so I understand if it takes you a little bit. But now that the show is over, this question: what is your favorite scene that happens only in the books? Exclusively in the books. Now, we can get a little wiggle room if you want to be like, well, they did this scene, but it kind of happened differently in the show. That, we can argue that. But the spirit of it is a scene that happened only in the books.
I'm going to go with a weird one. So,
Perfect.
I can't remember which novel it was, the prologue to. Might have been A Feast for Crows or A Storm of Swords. But when one of the Freys gets captured by Lady Stoneheart and is about to be executed, I thought that was a great opening. And I was really disappointed that they didn't translate that somehow into the show. Although, of course, they couldn't have because they didn't have Lady Stoneheart, which, that was a shame.
You can just hear the disappointment.
You say so much with so little, Andrew.
Now, it's funny because I believe that was the epilogue to a book, but if you read them back to back, it flows very much from one to the next.
Yeah, you're right. I think it probably was an epilogue, but I guess another epilogue which I really liked was the Kevin Lannister part. That was pretty chilling.
Yeah, you picked some pretty creepy ones actually, like the like very horrible murders that George ends books 3 and 5 with.
The rest of us were criticizing how violent the show was, and Andrew was just like, you know what? There just wasn't enough for me.
Needs more.
Got really close to the mic on that one.
Jeez.
Wow. No, yeah, I mean, yeah, you can't go wrong with a Stoneheart thing, though. Like, I mean, a little weird, but yeah, like, it would have been spectacular to see that on the screen.
I'm going to take a wild
nice to treasure
here.
Okay.
Andrew, are you angry they didn't include Biter versus Brienne?
Not really. The whole Brienne thing was just kind of that was kind of disturbing to me. I kind of like Brienne, and the idea of her face being gnawed off by some deranged monster was a little bit too dark even for me.
All right, we found the border.
There we go. Yeah, so there's a distinct line.
Frey's being murdered. I don't care about them. But Brienne, come on. No.
Fair enough. Fair. Yeah. The architects of the Red Wedding had it coming. Poor Brienne did not. I would actually probably go with something like the no chance and no choice Brienne moment where she's alone outside. Maybe not the biting specifically. I don't know why we had to pick that element of the scene out. But, you know, her standing as a true knight, man, I don't know. Brienne in the show is like a whole different character, basically, because we don't get that last stand. She's the Spartans at Thermopylae. Or something. Everyone's kind of nodding.
I think you said that right.
Yeah,
right.
she's the movie 300, directed by Zack Snyder. That's what I'm saying.
Imagine Game of Thrones directed by Zack Snyder.
Oh, man, DC Universe Game of Thrones.
No.
Yeah, I got to agree with Jen there.
Just everyone at court is shirtless, wearing loincloths for some reason. Everybody.
Now there's an image I didn't need to see.
Oh man. Yeah. Mark Addy rolls into Winterfell in the pilot, and
Patchface is still wearing his hat with the bells.
Oh no! Oh no!
Oh.
God damn it! Oh boy.
Yeah, I don't know how to segue out of that one.
No, just go for it. I'll edit it and it'll be clean.
Similarly, you know, the thing that I wish that my favorite scene in the books that wasn't in the show. So I'm going to go broad and then I'll narrow it down. So the show really, really avoided any of the magic stuff. So any of the prophecies, any of the dreams. Just that whole aspect of the show entirely. So I think specifically the thing that I really wanted to see, because I still am so curious about it, was Jaime Lannister's 2 dreams or 2 visions. Because although he goes back to Harrenhal to get Brienne in the show, they leave out the last bit that they put in the book. And the last bit was... like she asks him, why did you come back? And I think in the show they just have like a meaningful look or something like that. But then in the books he says, I dreamed of you.
Oh, yes.
It represents such a shift in Jaime's character and where his path goes after that. And it just, I mean, so not having that magic part and not having that little line, I think it took away a lot of the depth of that scene. So I think that's probably one of my favorites that the show didn't quite do justice to.
Yeah,
that's a good call. I remember now that you mention, I distinctly remember watching that episode and waiting for I Dreamed of You, because I was so excited. Oh, yeah.
And then you were let down.
And then I was let down. And I thought, this will never happen again.
Yeah.
One time
was a-
thing.
That was a fluke.
Everything else from the books, word for word.
Yes, up until that point. Yeah, season 2, perfect, flawless. Got just enough core and half hand. No, Matt, what about you? Do you have a favorite book only moment?
I'm gonna cheat a little bit because it kind of is in. It's sort of like Jen's with the dream thing, and that's the Wyla Manderley in the Merman's Court, followed by Wyman Manderley's North Remembers speech. Lyanna Mormont got a very abridged version of that when she was speaking in support of Jon to be king in the North. But there's actually a prompt I saw on Twitter. Aziz was asking for your favorite minor characters and what you'd want to see happen to them. I was like, Wyla Manderley, she was so badass. I went back and read the quote again in her speech, and she's like essentially like swatting away phrase and telling everybody to get bent because they're Stark men and all that stuff, and it was so great. Plus Wyman's at his full speech to Davos in the Wolf's Den. I thought they were two of the better parts of that entire book. And, you know, the abridged version with Lyanna was really good. It was great. There's a lot of passion to it. It was meaningful, had an important part in the season, but I don't know. It's always good when two characters dunk on phrase for basically an entire chapter.
Yeah. That's a good call.
Absolutely. Plus, doesn't Wyla in the books, doesn't she have like green hair or something?
Yeah, she's like the punk rock girl of the North.
Really? I totally forgot about that.
And she's really angry because she's betrothed to Rhaegar Frey.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
I also forgot about that.
Wow.
She's real mad.
She's
Rightfully
so mad she
so.
dyed her hair and like turned into a punk. Yeah.
Like ready to go to war. Like in that scene, she's like 5 minutes away from just grabbing a sword and going after some of the Freys. I'm like, I agree, Wyla.
She
Yeah.
became like a black bloc anarchist, all because she got engaged to a Frey.
Her and Arya would be really great friends.
Yes,
That would
they
be a power duo right there.
Yeah.
I mean, I know like they can't introduce every single minor character. I get that. I promise that I do. but you have little things like this, and it's just like, why didn't you adapt that somehow? Why didn't you take that and put that in there somewhere instead of making Arya the lone wolf that she was for so long?
Yeah.
She could have had a compatriot in the North to play off of, perhaps.
Something like that, yeah. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, she had Lyanna Mormont there. She could have struck up a conversation or something, you know.
You
The
know,
new
that's true.
Wirewolves.
They never really had those two interact. That was a real lost opportunity.
Maybe they thought like the internet would just melt down or something with the
Could be.
reaction. OMG.
And the thing is, we melt down no matter what, so
That's
right.
we might as well.
That's the asoiaf guarantee.
We will melt down, no matter the news, no matter the episode. Our subreddit's burning to the ground tonight.
But was it, I think that raises an important question. Was it always that way? And here to answer that question, I do want to talk, though, about, like, it has been 10 long years since the founding of the subreddit. So, not to turn this into, like, a tell-all interview with Rolling Stone, Andrew, but what were you thinking? Why did you...
Explain yourself.
Tell the good people of the world why you did this.
And so begins the trial by combat.
That's right. That's right.
Explain yourself.
So, no, I mean, it's a good question. So, I had only been on Reddit for a few months before, and I'd kind of almost joined before that, but then I'd kind of skipped out. But some co-workers at my job were encouraging me, so I got on there. And, natural kind of bouncing around, exploring new things. And around that same time, my wife who is a huge Song of Ice and Fire fan.
Oh.
And she actually got me into it. I'm also a huge fan of the Dune series. So I persuaded her and cajoled her to read that. And and then I kept hearing her talk to one of her sisters, and all I'd hear is about Rygar and Lyanna, and it sounded like a bad romance novel, to be honest. So I was like, I don't want. Yeah, this sounds rubbish. So, but she kept saying, you really should read this. It's really good. So I thought, well, I don't know. And then she said, well, I read Dune for you, so you should read this. So, played that good card.
That's an act of love, right there.
Yes. But she was right. So I thought, okay, fine. I'll give it a try. Because one of the reasons I was really reluctant was I'd tried reading the Dragonlance series when I was in high school, and yeah, enough said. Anyway, so I thought, yeah, I'll give it a try. So I picked up Game of Thrones, and I read the prologue, and by the end, I was like, holy shit, this is really good. Of course, it ends with the White Walkers and Royce and the other two, facing a zombie army, and I was just like, okay, this is really good. So I just started tearing through the novels, and right around the time I think on maybe a Clash of Kings or a Storm of Swords, I heard that HBO had picked it up as a show, and I was like, oh, this is going to be amazing. I knew it was going to be a great show. Yeah. I wanted to kind of read more about this and share it, about the casting, and also get more into the theory crafting. So I went out to looked around Reddit, and there were no subreddits. And so I thought, well, I'll look around. I found fantasy, and I tried posting it in there. And there were a few posts about Song of Ice and Fire, but they didn't seem to really get much attention. And so I thought, well, I guess I could create a community for it and just see what happens. And I thought, yeah, it'd be good exercise in learning about Reddit and all that kind of stuff. So
sure, a test subreddit.
Yeah, exactly. That's so.
I'll never go anywhere.
Yeah. Well, honestly, I thought, well, it'll end up with about 500 to 1,000 subscribers at most. It might be a quiet little thing. It'll probably fizzle out, but whatever. I'll give it a try. Yeah. So I kind of hemmed and hawed about what should I call it, and I knew the show was going to be called Game of Thrones at that point, because they just started announcing some cast. And I thought, should I call it Game of Thrones, or should I call it... Well, I couldn't call it A Song of Ice and Fire because that was too long, so I thought I'll go with the common abbreviation. And because they were both available. There was basically every subreddit related to A Song of Ice and Fire and Game of Thrones. None of them were taken. So I sat there on a Saturday morning and thought, which one should I go with? And I kind of went back and forth, and I thought, well, I'll go with asoiaf because it's more inclusive and it can be both the show and the book. And so I created it, and I think it was 5 minutes later, I threw a post up there about Ned Stark and Sean Bean, and I thought, just check in on it, every day and see what happens. And there were no subscribers. There was me. So I was like...
It was just /r/ThePowerOfGeek.
Basically, yeah, that was it. There was one subscriber. And then I think I might have cross-posted it or something. I don't know. But it got a second upvote. I was like, hey, cool. That's excellent. So anyway, then all these... I had low expectations, obviously. So
I'm not judging. Yeah. It's just
no, I know.
Funny
it's
to think about.
Top post.
How much people obsess over top posts now? And T-Vog had it for like months.
I had it for about at least a week, and then finally, someone posted another post, and I was like, oh man, this is great. Someone else is contributing, and the subscriber count went up to 2, and then 3, and then 5, and then like 8 or something. It was going by like Fibonacci sequence, apparently. So,
right.
But it's steadily growing, and then by that point, people started posting much more interesting things, and they were posting about the novel, and I was still reading the novels, so I probably got spoiled, but it wasn't a big deal. But it was really interesting stuff reading this. It was a bit of a mess because I didn't have a clue about what I was doing, and then someone else volunteered to help moderate. So he came on board and he got things ship-shape and did a really good job. And then we hired a couple more people. And and then right around that time, I think it was when season 1 started airing. And it was gaining some traction. I think it had a couple of hundred subscribers by that point, or a few hundred. Oh,
Big
yeah.
stuff. Yeah.
And then we were totally overwhelmed because I think at that point, A Dance with Dragons came out.
Oh, boy.
And so
Right.
there were 4 of us, and two of the other mods said, "I don't want to be spoiled. I'm not going to be here for the next month and a half or something."
Oh,
So,
jeez.
which, I mean, it's I understand the decision, but it was me and the other mod. I think it might have been Rabble, actually, Rabble Rouser, who's still still on the team. I think it was he and I who were kind of fighting the good fight and getting spoiled like crazy. And it didn't help that I made a deal with my wife to read the novel to her, or we were reading it to each other, taking it in turns, one chapter a morning. So I was going deathly slow.
This is the sweetest thing I've ever heard.
That's
it was
amazing.
It was really sweet, but it was very slow going. So
Yeah, no kidding.
so around that time, we decided, it really started to balloon up, and we thought we really need to hire some mods. And one of the other mods, who is no longer on the team, he kind of put some names forward, and as I think we had, I don't remember Jen. I mean, so Jen came on at this point with a couple of other guys, and I don't remember if it was an open call or if we were headhunting you, but
Open call.
open call. Okay, so
So you voluntarily
yeah,
jumped in, Jen.
Oh, Jen.
I did, yes.
Wow.
I regret mostly nothing.
That's all you can ask
Are
for.
your 2 regrets on this call with you right now?
yeah, Jen came on board. It was a bit of a baptism of fire recruitment process, because we went a little bit too far, and we kind of decided to put Jen and the other 2 through the ringer for some reason. I think we got a bit carried away, and we're very lucky that they actually said yes, because at one point they were like, if this is what moderating is about, I don't want to be a part of this. And at that point we realized, we're going a bit far here, so we calmed it down, and they came on.
At no point during that trial by fire was any of the shit posting that we do in Slack ever mentioned. So, I mean, the perks were not mentioned during the mod tryout.
Sure. Right,
So it all evens out in the end, really.
Yeah, I mean,
Right.
in fairness, we were trying to prepare you, Jen.
In fairness, yeah.
This is my weird twisted justification. No, but we basically threw a bunch of exercises about what would you do in this situation, and we were throwing these scenarios at Jen and Kendo and the other guy who's since left, but who did a fantastic job, and so
was
they
this
were,
like the Kobayashi Maru, were you in these no-win Reddit scenarios?
pretty much, yeah. It was very unfair, and we haven't done it since, so that says a lot.
Nor will we ever.
No, we won't do that again.
Well, okay, so I mean, this is all very behind the scenes Reddit modding, I guess, but the thing back then when we came on is that back then we didn't have any written rules for the subreddit. There was no civility policy, there was no spoiler tag requirement, nothing. It was just sort of whatever you thought was best.
Yeah.
So they were throwing these scenarios at us, and we had no idea what the right answer was. We were like, well, maybe this, maybe that would be removed, but it wasn't against any actual rule or anything because they didn't exist.
Ban them, over and over again.
And T-Pog hired me that day.
I was kind of hoping these trials had a physical component. He's like, all right, let's get your 40-yard dash. See you do the cone drill. How high can you jump? Okay, this all works
You have
out.
to wear this. You have to wear this heart monitor for the next month.
Yeah, I had to carry a giant hammer too. It was the craziest thing.
So here's something you probably don't know, Jen, but part of the reason we did that was because we were trying to gauge what kind of rules we should do, and we're like, hey, let's use these mod candidates to get a feel for what the rules should be and how they should be codified.
Holy shit! Yeah, no, I didn't know that.
Yeah. So sorry about that. But
wow.
we did get some really good ideas from you guys that we ended up instituting. So that's the plus side, right?
That's some deep lore. That's like, are you telling me the subreddit was built on a lie?
It wasn't built on a lie. It was just
No,
just the extension was built on a lie.
Just yeah,
You know,
bits of it.
the conservatory, you know, half the house, you know.
right. The addition.
Yeah.
Oh
But,
wow.
so then, you know, I mean, the mod team steadily grew from there, and we've weathered some storms and seen some good times and bad times, and grown way bigger than I thought we'd ever grow.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, 700,000. Well, we're at 701,000 as of recording this.
Wow.
Almost 702,000. A lot of that came from like the past year, though.
Yeah.
We've definitely hit a spike. It's a very different place than it was. I mean, I wasn't around as early as Jen or you, obviously, because no one was for several weeks.
It was T-Pog and his one friend.
Just upvoting each other.
No. Downvoting for disagreeing.
Oh.
Starting it off
That's
early.
Right. That's right. Yeah, it was a lawless place back then. No, but it definitely has changed a lot in 10 years. But I think there's still a core of like you know you can come here to sort of shoot the shit and discuss. Like that's always been, I think, the hallmark of /r/asoiaf. Now, I do have to ask, do you spell it out every time you say it out loud, or do you pronounce it?
I say it out all the way. I don't.
A Song of Ice and Fire.
Yeah. Song of Ice. I usually drop the A, but it's Song of Ice and Fire. But I mean, honestly, this is the sub has turned into, you know, this nebulous idea that I had at the very beginning. It's turned into that and more. You know, a lot of it is because of you know, the rest of the mod team and the insight from them, and also mostly because just, you know, we've just managed to attract really good, thoughtful, mostly considerate, very intelligent people. So you know, it's turned into a monster, and it's turned into more than I had hoped it would be. But you know, largely no thanks to me. I mean, I've kind of I've done my share, and I feel like I've weathered some storms and done some meta kind of management. But you know, it's a really self-sustaining team.
Yeah, that's true. You're able to walk away, you know, let the kingdom rule itself a little bit.
Yeah.
You mean Automod?
Yeah, I was gonna say you mean yeah, Auto Moderator, Mighty Isabel, and JFong 86 are the powerhouses of the mod team.
I would like to point out that I was the main proponent for bringing on JFong, so I'm going to take credit for that one. I mean, all of you were in favor, but I was like, I think this guy's going to be really good. So,
man, and how right you were.
For once, yeah.
Yeah. You can't win them all, I guess.
Yeah.
There was that time you hired some dick named Jeff.
Oh man.
You mean George R.R. Martin?
Yes. I mean,
the
you
only
knew
reason
he
he
wouldn't
made
have the
it.
time for it. He has to write.
Yeah.
You just let him on because you knew he was the author, and you thought, he should be the moderator of his own subreddit, I guess. But
I thought, you know what will really slow down George R.R. Martin's writing? Bringing him on as a moderator. Yeah.
there you go.
To read fan theories. Oh God.
You were like actively trolling the fandom with your position of power.
Andrew, do you remember the first like interesting theory or big theory or something like that you saw on asoiaf and you were like, holy shit, like this is awesome, I'm so glad I created this, or something like that?
I remember there were a few of them, but I don't remember the exact one. But I remember reading, it was around after about like a month or two, people started posting theories, and I'd be like, wow, this is actually really good. This is really deep. And they were really getting into the weeds of lore and putting a little bit of tinfoil on their head, and it was just like really, the posts started getting longer, and I was really impressed, and I thought, wow, I can't do that. So
you know what they say, those who do, and those who can't moderate.
There we go.
No, well, it is funny. I did want to pull out a couple like Reddit-wide milestones from 2009 that all happened in the same year, because I think I don't know about other folks, but for example, Imager was created in 2009.
Wow.
Actually created, I believe, after the subreddit was. Like, it was later that year. So, like, the subreddit is at least the same age as, if not older than, the image hosting website that everyone uses now.
Wow.
Which, I don't know, that blew my mind when I saw that. Because to put those on the same time scale for me, that's I don't know. asoiaf is an institution on Reddit. It's been around for a majority of the history of Reddit itself as a website, which is kind of cool.
That's true. I mean, when
Reddit was 2005, I think.
Yeah, that sounds about right. Wow.
Yeah, 14 years.
How did people post memes and like pictures of Bronze Ear before Imager?
Well, in the long ago, my friend,
Mm-hmm.
there were just other sites.
Oh. I thought you were going to be a grand story,
It's like-
Jen. You
like-
set me up.
It was like Photo Bucket and stuff.
Oh.
It was
Yeah.
Photo Bucket.
There was
Yeah,
another
with
one
the-
as well. What was the other site?
Oh,
Flickr.
Was
Flickr?
it just Flickr?
No, I thought
Maybe?
I thought there was another one as well.
There was like a really shitty one, if I remember right.
That sounds like Flickr.
I don't remember if it was Photo Bucket or
Right.
this other thing, but I remember like a frog error image. Is that Photo Bucket?
A frog?
Yeah, like whenever it couldn't find an image, it would have like this.
It sounds like you were trying to upload to Germ's blog.
Oh my god, you're right. That's my mistake. This whole time I thought that Not a Blog was actually the subreddit. I've never been on the subreddit. Your subreddit, the subreddit is also about as old as the Ask Me Anything subreddit, like the IMA subreddit.
That's crazy.
Which, yeah, right? Doesn't that seem like part of Reddit itself? That
Seems
is
like it should have been a
Um,
default, like one of the first.
Yep, no, it was just created in 2009. In fact, there's one of the top posts from that year is a Redditor who pretended to be a scientist who was sent 10 years into the past by the Large Hadron Collider, doing an Ask Me Anything. So this is well before there were like rules on that subreddit as well. asoiaf was not alone, I think. Also, quick sidebar, if that was 10 years in the past, in October 2009 was this post, so that means October 2019, this Redditor is going to get sent into the past by the Large Hadron Collider.
Nice.
Oh.
Just, keep an eye out for that, I guess.
I think this would be a good April Fool's joke. Like, I'm 10 years in the future. I've read A Dream of Spring. Ask me anything.
Oh yeah, so that
Super
leads me to another subreddit tradition. Now we did, loyal listeners will remember that we did talk about this in our live panel at Con of Thrones a little bit. But would you like to explain or apologize for, whatever your choice, some of the April japes that the subreddit
Oh God.
has put on? So who came up with the idea of doing like the April Fools, the April japes thing for Song of Ice and Fire?
I don't know, but it wasn't me because I'm not that imaginative. But
You can't blame me.
Right, yeah.
I feel like Ken though might have been responsible because that seems like one of his kind of things.
You guys did it before we were mods.
Okay. Yeah.
You had at least one before we were modded.
Yeah, he just came up with some really creative ideas then.
Yeah.
But some of them I know I know some of them I was like, yeah, this will be fun, and then it kind of backfired. I can't remember which one it was, and then there was another one that that there were a couple that I thought, well, is this might be pushing it too much, and I think we went forward with them, and they turned out all right. And I know there were a couple of ideas. There was at least one idea where I said, yeah, we really shouldn't do this. And I kind of nixed it because it would have turned into a nightmare. I mean, it was with the best of intentions, but
which one was that? Do you remember?
I don't
You
remember.
can't just drop that story or anecdote without saying what the idea was.
I want to say it was something to do with George R. R. Martin having a heart attack or something.
Oh, no.
Oh my God.
Yeah, nix that. Boo.
Jesus, yeah, that's terrible. Whose idea was that?
I don't know. But it was it
Fair.
might have been something about it was either that. There were a couple of ideas banding around, and I think there was another one about like that he was going to get someone to ghostwrite the rest of the novels because he was fed up with them or something. So it's yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a careful line to tread.
Indeed.
I think. Yeah, I mean, I remember being around for the one where y'all pretended to have the preview chapters, and I mean, I wasn't confused. I knew that you didn't have preview chapters because it was April Fool's Day, but.
Oh man,
yeah,
but so many people fell for that, and
yeah.
and so many angry people about it with that. So
You know what? I feel like Jeff has linked to a comment where he was asking us questions, where he was one of the people who believed it.
Of course he did.
Oh.
Hope springs eternal in Beefish land.
I mean, he was one of many, and I don't think he was angry or as angry as others after the fact, but
yeah, I kind of remember that too, Jen. Yeah, I think you're right.
Well, and it wasn't just I don't mean to dredge this up, but if I remember right, it wasn't just that you pretended you had the preview chapters, it was that you split into factions, right? And some of you pretended to be angry at the other ones.
yeah,
And
Yeah.
that wasn't a good idea.
I think that was one of the ones where I said I'm not really comfortable with this, so you guys, if you want to do it, you go ahead, but I'm gonna kind of step out and be boring and not get involved in this. So
yeah, I think it speaks to something about the mod team that we love these very complicated books and this series with all of its plot twists and everything. We kind of can't help but turn the April Fools into just a little bit of like a red wedding every year.
That's true. What was one of the ones that went over really poorly? It was with the bots, where every time a keyword
I think
bot.
The first one with the
Shame
bot went well, but then like auto moderator went pretty well, right? And then
Yeah.
Get
Yeah.
Hype Bot or something was the next year.
Get Hype Bot and Septum Ordain Bot.
Oh,
yeah.
Septum Ordain Bot.
We had other ones too that I can't remember, but yeah, that was. We apparently ran that joke too far into the ground.
Yeah. If I remember, wasn't it that Septum Ordain Bot like it replied to any comment with a swear word in it and just said shame?
I think
That
so.
Something
sounds,
like that.
That sounds familiar, yeah.
And it seems like there were some bots that people never even discovered because it was so elaborate, and we had so many words keyed up that some of them just never got triggered. So it was always a kind of oh someone's found this one, excellent.
So what you're saying is
right.
it could have gotten worse.
Yes.
Oh yeah. No, that's
Some
right.
say there's still a bot lurking to this day.
What?
Yeah, the undiscovered bot is out there. And actually, I mean, some of the April Japes have, of course, stuck around. The Benjen Dario Euron snoo started in like 2015 as a joke, and then it's just stuck around. You can't get rid of it. No, those were some truly classic memories. And there's some other truly classic memories from like back in the day. I did do a little bit of digging on the archive, like the Wayback Machine, just to see what the sub looked like back in 2011, which is as far back as it archives. And there's a really great post titled, obviously there's no spoiler tag on this post.
Yeah, obviously,
we
don't need no stinking spoilers.
That's right. Do you think Game of Thrones will breach the 6-season wall on HBO? And there's the top comment is after Firefly, I vowed to treat every season of exciting shows as the last. Winter is coming. But the second comment is from you, Andrew.
Mm-hmm.
It's from The Power of Geek. I'm just going to quote something to you and see how you feel about it. I'm sure you don't mind. You say, I disagree with the majority and actually think the HBO show will actually spur George R. R. Martin to write more. Care to comment?
Oh, you sweet summer child.
There we go. Oh, yeah.
I was unusually optimistic then. Yeah. Obviously I was very wrong. But...
And this was before Dance with Dragons had been released. It was like 2 or 3 weeks or something, but it had not come out yet.
But we knew it was about to come out, I think, and so I think I was riding on this cloud of optimism that he's about to release a novel. He's over the Feast for Crows kind of hump. It's all going to be downhill from here. But obviously, I grossly underestimated the complexity of the plot and the intricacies of George R. R. Martin's writing because. It's fair play to him. It is an incredibly complex plot and a lot of different characters, as we know. And yeah, and I also underestimated the show for some reason. I thought that they were going to go like one book per season because they did that in the first first season.
Yeah.
And then they started like abridging them and shortening them, and I was like, whoa, wait a minute. This is, you're passing up all this great material that's in the novels, but, they, for other reasons, some understandable, they decided to shorten things, as often happens in TV.
Yeah.
I love that T-Pog's an old school Dan and Dave hater. Like, back in time, as far as it goes back, like, I don't trust these two. Also, the second sentence from this plus the fact that some of his nightmare plot tangles are now solved.
Yeah.
Means I'll think we'll see the next novels come out more quickly. Oh, God. The tangles were solved.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean... The thought was that the Myronese knot was basically done now, and everything was going to be smooth sailing from there. But obviously not the case.
Yeah, it is. It's funny. The comments some of them are like prescient, but in the wrong way. Like there's someone who said, "I get downvoted to hell every time I bring up the incredibly likely possibility that, given the rate old Georgie writes these books, they will never ever be able to finish them as a TV series." Oh, naive summer children. And I mean, the show obviously finished, but I feel like this commenter wasn't entirely wrong.
Yeah.
Like, they didn't, George didn't finish the books in time for the show. And someone replies, and they're like, oh, I don't know, he could finish them. And the same person comes back, and I guess they're Scottish, because they say, oh, you're so green, I bet you piss grass. It was a wilder time on the subreddit back then.
I like this one from the Growler Bear. Assuming it doesn't get canceled, it is going to have to. Oh, he thought it was going to get canceled. That's funny.
Yeah, I mean, there was some uncertainty, wasn't there? As to the future of the show back in those golden days.
Growler Bear, where are you? Come back. Tell us how you feel now.
I would love if we could get some like really old school users to just kind of come back for like a 10-year reunion.
Like a high school reunion?
Yeah, exactly.
See who's selling Mary Kay and LuLaRoa and who's the janitor, and not that there's anything wrong with janitors, but I don't want to put them in the same boat as multi-level marketers. But
Oh my god. Yeah, no,
we need
right.
like a
right.
subreddit yearbook.
Yeah, exactly. Yes. Yeah, I mean, we mentioned a couple episodes back. I think this was one that Eliana was on. That Indian Thane 95 returned after a long absence. It happens.
One of the Quill and Tankards.
That's right. Yeah, yeah. So it can happen. It's entirely possible. Growler Bear, if you're out there,
come back to us.
Let us
We
know how
miss
you
you.
feel. Well, if they thought it was going to be canceled that early on, probably not an optimistic viewpoint on how the show ended.
Yeah, I wonder, if you could show, like, if you could time travel, if you could turn on the Large Hadron Collider and time travel one of those
Turn it on
one of those
early.
2011 users to like now and make them watch all 8 seasons back to back. Like, do you think they would like it? Do you think someone from back then would I don't know, would they enjoy it?
No.
Or would they
No.
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 You think that's a big negative?
9.
I
Yet.
wonder if someone like from before, this is before Dance came out, so John hadn't died in the books yet. Do you think watching that in the show they'd be like, this is bullshit? Like,
Yeah,
George
definitely.
would never do this.
That's a good question.
An interesting question. Yeah.
He came back from the dead? What is this bad writing?
Exactly. Yeah. I mean,
It's such a soap opera. Oh my god.
exactly.
Wow, Gandalf much?
Gandalf much.
He would never do that to Hodor.
Oh, yeah,
Oh my
exactly.
god.
Exactly.
Hold the door, they would lose their minds like, that's it. He's saying hold the door. That's so stupid.
Yep.
It's funny you mention that because there's this other thread from this is June 2011. So this is a pretty vintage thread. Again, before Dance. And it was a character survival predictions thread. Post the 3 you think you'll survive to the end and those you think won't. And the top comment is, Hodor is the lone survivor and rules what's left of the 7 kingdoms, now known as Hodoria.
We wish.
In a happier world.
Yeah.
I like, there's a little bit further down, there's a comment from Buckaroo too. A good name, got a nice rhyming scheme to it. They're repeating the same thing today that nobody has a source for. I think I heard somewhere that the only character Gurm's wife made him promise not to kill is Arya. Nobody has a quote for this. It's like one of those weird urban legends that's in the books, and here it is, 9 years ago.
I swear to
10
God,
years
I remember
ago.
reading it, but it must have just been a comment like this, where
Yeah,
someone was
no.
like, "Oh, I heard George's wife, said this."
I
You know the other thing that we have like that there's no quote for, but it just keeps perpetuating, is that allegedly somewhere George said that there were 4 descendants of Dunk, like Duncan the Tall,
Yeah.
in the books, and at no point does he ever say there's 4. I think he only ever says like, yes, there's someone or some people or something like that.
There's a few or something like that, yeah.
Yeah, but at no point was like the number 4 given. So whenever anyone talks about it, the number 4 has like entered the, well, it's definitely 4 people, so we have to, okay, so if we count Sandor, we have to count Gregor, so that leaves 2 more, so who else could it be?
Oh
Yeah.
my God. Yeah. Right.
Just going back to the Arya thing, I've perpetuated that myth myself without realizing it quite a few times to people. I've at work,
Same,
some of my co-workers and friends have really into the show, and they kind of knew that I was involved in the fandom to some degree.
Involved.
Yeah. So they would say, oh, this is, before the show overtook the books, and they say, oh, who do you think's safe? And I say, oh, well, Arya's safe because George R. R. Martin's wife has said that she'd lose it if he killed her off. So, she's safe. And lo and behold, it was a myth, but it turned out to be true, at least in the show. So,
Yeah.
Yeah, I am fairly sure that, like, I told my wife this anecdote a couple years ago, and then we were talking about it as this season was airing, and she was like, oh yeah, he's not going to kill Arya off because that's his wife's favorite. And I was like, no, that's not true. That's like apocryphal. And she was like, you told me this. Like, it came from you. You're my source.
You're an unreliable narrator.
I think I might be. Yeah, I think I am. What I think is interesting in this character survival predictions thread, there's several different users. Golden Goat, I hope they're still around, and Mr. Saturn JD, who both think that Dany is going to survive to the end, and they both say some variant of the same thing, which is, well, I'll quote one of them. I've said this twice before, once for Ned, once for Rob, so I should learn my lesson, yet here I am, like there's any way George R. Martin would kill his precious main character. And that one doesn't age very well. I
got another one that ages terribly from user Hot Soup. In their live column, they list, of all people, Shireen. And they say, listen to this rationale. There's no reason for her to exist, but to become the leader of House Baratheon. Subverted expectations.
Wow, that one hurts.
It does. It does.
But yeah, I can really imagine before you get to A Dance with Dragons, when people are like, yeah, what is the point of Shireen? Why is she here?
Yep. No, I get that. Yeah. It's funny that some people predict, like, there's some characters who are in the columns for both lists. Like Jon Snow, I've seen in this post. There's people who think he dies, people who think he lives. Of course, both are right. Everyone seemed to agree that Littlefinger was going to die, though.
A lot of Dany's. A lot of people thought Dany was going to die.
I guess they're feeling pretty happy with themselves right now if they believe the show is true to the books.
yeah. Or maybe it's more of like a be careful what you wish for sort of thing. You know? They didn't realize. I do like in the original post. Again, this is before Book 5. In the original post, the OP says that Tyrion Lannister's going to die because they'd be willing to wager that the dwarf head that was brought to Cersei in Book 4 was actually Tyrion.
Wow. That's a hot take.
It's a hot take. It's also, I mean, there were like preview chapters and stuff at this point, right? Like, it was known.
Right? Yeah, you're right. Yes.
Like right there before the end. You know,
yeah,
before
like Tyrion he had read it at cons or something.
Yeah. That, you know, OP really could have known better if he'd perused the So Spake Martins a little bit.
I don't think that existed back then, did it?
Yeah,
it did. It did.
Oh, did it? Okay.
Yeah.
Westeros is ancient.
True.
It is. Yes, they predate us.
Yeah.
By
a significant amount. Yeah.
Definitely not the search function, though. That's new.
Very true.
That's right.
So Spake Martin's search engine, which I think Holloway Division made. Yeah.
That's right. Yep. The search engine. That was a best of for this past year, if I remember right.
Yeah. Made searching those really easy. It made Jeff ignore his job just so much as he just crawled through the So Spake Martins looking for keywords.
I gotta say, I've gotten distracted by looking at the sidebar and just reading the like sidebar text on this archived version of the subreddit, where you can request a flare, but it's like a Google form, it looks like. Oh. Is that right?
Oh, wow.
Spreadsheets. I'm going to click on this Google form link and try to request a flare the old-fashioned way. So this is before our current flare system, I guess.
Oh, God.
Oh, yeah, it still works. It's a Google form that you fill out, and it also functioned as like a mini user survey. Wow.
I have no recollection of that.
One of you must have the, like, somewhere in your Google Drive.
Whoa.
Wow. That's just amazing.
Select your name tag. I wonder if these...
You know, now that I see this, or not the form itself, but now I remember, whenever I came on as a mod, I coerced my husband into creating the first flare bot for the subreddit.
That's right.
Which I totally forgot about until now.
Yeah, I'd forgotten about that too. He did a great job on it too.
He did, yeah. And then, I mean, it's been improved over, obviously, in the 7 years or something since then. But yeah, we really graduated from the Google Forms.
Yeah.
Wow, yeah. Seriously.
And then over here on our Reddit friends, for some reason, The Hobbit. I didn't even know it was a subreddit. r/The Hobbit. What is this?
Wow. Was that for the Hobbit films?
Oh, no.
Yeah.
No, that was way before that, I think.
It would be, wouldn't it? Like.
Oh, the
Oh,
Hobbit.
no, I see. Yeah, this is the shiny new subreddit for the Hobbit films with like 367 subscribers as of when we link to it.
It's a little bit
December
bigger
2012 is fast approaching.
now. 25,000 subscribers now.
Are the movies that old? Wow.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, they are.
How nuts is that? I'm talking about all this Reddit stuff that makes you feel old, but the Hobbit movies. Like, there are children conceived during the Hobbit movies who are now in grade school. I had to do some quick math on that.
Oh, I don't like that math.
Run away.
I just don't like the idea of people being conceived during the Hobbit movies. I'm gonna retract that statement.
I would say the Hobbit movies are anti-boning.
An antiphylactic.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's a thing. We were actually subreddit of the day in 2011 as well. In September of 2011. I believe we've been subreddit of the day since then, but I'm not positive about that.
Yeah, once or twice, since then.
Yeah. You know, just titles, honors, etc.
Oh, it was a big deal that first time though. Big deal.
That's pretty cool. Yeah.
Was it really?
Yeah.
Honestly, was it really?
It was really cool. Very exciting.
So, I mean, subreddit of the day was young then too. Like that was a new thing.
Yeah.
Relatively. Also, I'm really enjoying looking at the thread because it's just people shit posting, but it's shit people like. It's 2011 asoiaf Reddit shit. Free unborn puppy skewers for all is the top comment. Someone follows up with and honeyed locusts. Oh wow.
There's a good one further down saying that finally a subreddit of the day isn't a porn subreddit. So, yay.
Oh, man.
We forget our dirty side of Reddit sometimes. But
yeah. They're there, too. Yeah, did you ever consider becoming, like, the lord of, like, a Rule 34 asoiaf subreddit?
what if it's
Strange.
asoiaf, but you spell it ass and waff?
ASSOIAF.
And if you hadn't before, are you considering it now?
Well, I had never considered it before, and no, I don't consider it now either.
I'm not considering
I'll leave it for one of you guys. You're welcome to that one.
Yeah,
Let's see if it exists. It exists. Somebody has this. Who
stop
claimed
looking
this?
it up. No, but is it just Rule 34 at? What is it?
It's a one-person subreddit.
No.
It's a what?
It's a person. They squat. They have 336 subreddits. They just squat random ones.
See, the one I'm looking at, which is Rule 34 asoiaf, has been banned due to being unmoderated.
Oh. No, I'm looking at ASSOIAF.
Oh, right. Yeah.
And it's called Ass of Ice and Fire.
No, it isn't. Get the fuck out. That's amazing.
Please tell me it's
Reddit
just
request.
photos.
Reddit request.
Please tell me it's just photos of different
There's
actors
nothing.
behinds.
It's
Oh
nothing.
my god, that would be amazing. Yeah, just
It's a one-person subreddit. They're the only one here.
we could Reddit request it and turn it into like just a Dario picture hosting site.
We certainly could.
We could.
That's something we could do.
We could do a lot of crazy things. Not that we haven't done a lot of crazy things, or kind of crazy things, but
That's right. We need to, now that the show's over, it's time for us to really start branching out, I think. Extending our tendrils. Our weirwood roots.
as you left that segue open, I would like to drop a reference to Daniel Tiger Conspiracy.
Oh boy.
Oh my god. That's right. This is your new. Well, it's not new anymore, but
No.
like it your sequel to asoiaf.
You could call it that. I created it. I created it on a kind of on a lark, and dragged Jen and Hamfast into it, and it's actually it's a pretty nice little community. It's basically tinfoil satire of the Daniel Tiger neighborhood TV show and other kids' TV shows.
It's really good. Yeah, I subscribed to it and then forgot, and so sometimes I'll see posts pop up. And I feel like almost every one that I see is always like, why isn't he wearing pants or something like that?
It's a common question.
There's rant, I hate Prince Wednesday. That's I love this one actually. Get fucked, Prince Wednesday.
My favorite part about being a moderator of that subreddit, because I am, is that sometimes people will submit rants about other kids' shows like Paw Patrol or whatever, and then other people will report those posts because it's not directly about Daniel Tiger, as if we're like stringently enforcing rules over there or something.
Oh man. Yeah, I mean, you got to keep it on topic. They know, they understand. They know.
10 years from now, there'll be a podcast dedicated to.
Oh man, the Daniel Daily. Or you could just, oh man, yeah. Everyone who's a listener on that podcast, they've got the DTs, the Daniel Tiger, but like like the delirium tremens. Like they're experiencing withdrawal. Yeah, I teach children's swim lessons as one of my jobs, and I had a kid talking about Daniel Tiger the other day, and honestly, all I could think of was this subreddit.
Excellent.
That's like
excellent.
My only exposure to Daniel Tiger is through like this really weird lens, thanks to you guys. So is that an official plug for it? Are you inviting people to come join the community?
If they want. I mean, it's really geared towards parents or caregivers of young children who are slowly going insane watching these episodes over and over again. So it's a release valve. Right. Okay. Yeah. That seems important. Yeah. I mean, 10 years. There is like a whole generation of like the mod youth. We don't have to dox anyone on the team, but there are kids who have definitely grown up. The children of lords and ladies of the subreddit, with all the privileges that entails. Yeah, there was a sobering realization. I think it was last year when we brought some new mods on, and one of them was pretty young, and it occurred to me that he's younger than my oldest nephew. That was that was a bit sobering. Wow, yeah. But he's done a great job. Do you think that someday we will like be handing off the subreddit to our children?
I remember we talked about this one time on Slack, and I thought that I thought that at least one of my kids would do a really great job, but then the other one would just burn it to the ground.
Hire them both. Ice and fire.
See, this is the problem. You've got yourself an Anes and a Magor, and you don't know what to do.
Well, right, or something like that. So like, who do I give Blackfire to?
Yeah.
Exactly. I mean, really, there's just a lot of parallels for real life.
That's right. The mod team is the Targaryen dynasty, is what we're we're getting at.
Yeah, that's not as much incest, but yes, exactly.
Right. A little bit less.
Well, shit. Who's Robert Baratheon then?
I don't think we have a Bobby B.
Yeah, probably not.
No.
We don't have an arch nemesis.
No.
A quiet realm, a peaceful people.
Exactly.
That's our.
So we're all just a bunch of Boltons.
Yeah, well, they know what's up.
There's only one moderator. Bolton.
It's like I was gonna say how Bolton is like there's only one guy and he just wears the skins. Mm-hmm. We are all just the alts of Andrew. Like none of us are real. The three of us are actors portraying alt accounts
Now this
on
is
a podcast.
this is some deep tinfoil. I like it.
That's right.
That's
right.
true. We went to Con of Thrones. We were on the main stage, but you guys didn't see our earpieces connected directly to Andrew.
He's got this big control room. It's like a Soviet style, like just buttons and levers and stuff everywhere. And
No, it's like that.
yeah.
It's like that room from the from Lost. You know, the one.
You just have
Yeah.
to keep pushing the buttons, the numbers over and over again.
Well, that's
That's
what it's felt like sometimes. I got to say, I think for all of us. So
yeah, right. Oh man, yeah.
I'll just
No, go ahead.
quickly. I have an important update. I have Reddit request our ass off.
Thank you.
I'm gonna try
Thank
and
you.
get this baby.
Go on, do your duty. That's great. I'm glad that's happening.
Hopefully, you can add it to our war chest of subreddits, the porn one. And I'm happy to take that burden.
Perfect. See, this is why it's good to have a broad mod team with lots of different voices.
Deep bench.
Yeah.
So, Andrew, is there anything in the 10-year history of asoiaf besides Matt Reddit requesting porn that the porn subreddit, excuse me. I want to be specific. I don't want to.
No, he's just requesting.
I'm just asking for porn.
Does
Sorry,
anyone have some
sorry.
porn?
Sticky post. Give me porn.
Don't forget to mod to distinguish
Mod
it.
hat, yeah. This is crow business.
Sorry, Matt.
Crow business. Send me your nudes.
I don't think I want asoiaf's nudes.
Oh my god.
Yeah, I
so
don't know if
sorry.
anything would top that, but is there anything in like the 10 years that we haven't asked about that you would want to talk about? Like a good story that just hasn't come up for whatever reason.
not really that I can think of. I think nothing really interesting or repeatable. So
Repeatable is the problem.
That is important. We have the code of omerta over most of what we do, like the silence, where you're not allowed to talk about what goes on behind closed doors on the mod team.
no, I mean it's not really that interesting for the most
No.
part. I don't want to give any listeners this fake intrigue that there's exciting stuff going on, and they get on board, and it's just people.
Us posting GIFs in Slack.
Yeah.
Yeah, really. That's most of my moderating these days. I am kind of curious. Do you think, like, how do you think the sub would have been different if the Winds of Winter had come out like a couple years ago? Like, I don't know. Do you think we'd still be hanging around after this show? Well, obviously we would, but I don't know. As a thought experiment.
Well, especially because you lived through A Dance with Dragons coming out.
That's true. Yeah.
Yeah.
I wasn't even born yet when that happened.
Yeah.
So
A youngin'.
You're aging in reverse now, I see.
yeah, that's right.
The curious case of a Bookshelfstud.
Yeah.
That's an interesting question. I think I don't think it would have changed too much, to be honest. I mean, even if you're talking about 2 or 3 years ago, if the Winds of Winter had come out, it would have been largely the same. The show would have ended the same way it did, maybe slightly different, but not hugely. The die had been cast already, and we still have extra material coming up. So that's one of the things about the sub that I think has some staying power, is that because we focus on both the show and the novels, and pretty much, as I like to say, all things A Song of Ice and Fire, there's still some stuff to discuss, and there's still some theory crafting, and obviously it's diminishing a little bit because we're kind of heading more into dead end territory. There's less kind of pie in the sky stuff that we can go with, but I think there's still room.
Yeah, no, I see what you're saying. Yeah, I mean the story wouldn't have ended.
Yeah.
With the Winds of Winter, we would have still been waiting, certainly.
Yeah.
There might have been more. We might have been hitting like 900,000 this show season instead of
probably.
700.
Well,
I've heard that a lot. That a lot of people left the subreddit basically just to wait for Winds of Winter. Just like over the years, they've been like, "I'll come back when it's out."
yeah.
So there's like it's gonna be like an influx waiting for us.
Oh my god!
Like a whole
yeah.
like diaspora
Yes.
of asoiaf users.
Mm-hmm.
Ass waffles.
Yes.
Ass waffles.
Thank you.
Yes, that is correct. Ass waffles.
That's.
I
the
die
right
a
term.
little inside each time I'm forced to say
Maybe
it.
we should differentiate it and make that the term for people who use Matt's new subreddit. Assuming he lands it. Good luck.
I mean,
with the Reddit
fingers crossed
requests.
on that one.
Yeah.
I put in a good application.
Good. Yeah. Give nudes, please.
The ass waffles versus the ass waffles.
Oh yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
A grand tourney.
I'm not doing another tourney. I'm done with
Oh
them.
yeah, that's right. We've had some tourneys
Yeah.
in the subs history.
Yeah, we have.
The best fighter tournament, right? That was. Were there multiples of that, or was there just one?
I think there's been 2 or 3. We had one which was a non-fighters tournament. I remember, which was kind of interesting. Which was like Varys versus Littlefinger, and who would poison or stab the other in the back the best. So
Right. Yeah, that's those were like people wrote up their own scenarios, right, of each how that would go.
That was
Yeah.
about the closest we've got to endorsing any kind of fan fiction.
Right, yeah. Right. No, yeah, because the later tournament that Matt was referring to was obviously the essay tournament, which not very fan fiction-y.
Yes.
No, it wasn't. A smarter man would have automated it.
But where's the fun in that?
Exactly. Yes.
I so loved waking up every day before work and like spending a half hour getting all the posts ready and cross-posting them everywhere. That was just wonderful.
Well, you did it well.
Thank you.
It is funny though. I mean that was a lot more viable when there were like 20,000 users and not 200,000 or whatever it was when Matt was doing it.
Yeah.
The scale does change things a little. Do you wish it was small, or are you like just so pleased to see the family grow?
It's got pros and cons. In some ways, I lament the fact that it is so big and unruly. But then again, during season time, as you guys know, and for the listeners out there, it got pretty crazy. It was all hands on deck, trying to, put out fires and stop fighting, and we're kind of, there are periods I think where we all felt we were drowning in posts and comments. But if you'd asked me then, I would have said hell yeah. But now I think now it's slightly quieter, and we're kind of back to what we used to call the off season, which I guess is every day now for until the Winds of Winter come out. But now we're back down to that time. It feels a lot calmer and more manageable, and personally I don't mind having such a large fan base, or not fan base, but subscriber base at this point. But it's certainly it can certainly be challenging when like something new comes out, or
Yeah, I mean, we'll have to see how. I'm curious to see how people will receive like the new spin-off show. If it'll be quite as big on the subreddit, or if it will be a little quieter, maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe not as massive as like say the Long Night episode or something.
Yeah.
I hope.
Yeah. Ooh.
Uniquely challenging.
So, Andrew, there's something the mod team has been wondering for quite a while now. Are you actually the author, Neil Stephenson?
No.
What?
I just look kind of like him. I'm like
Kind of?
a younger, less good-looking version of him, and not as nowhere near as good a writer. But there is a slight resemblance. So it's become.
But as far as we know, he's never founded a subreddit. So I believe you have like a one-up on
that.
On...
True.
That is true. He probably hasn't. So, good point.
I mean, but these are all things Neil Stephenson would say if he was trying to convince us he wasn't him.
That's true. That is also true. Yes, if you were Neil Stephenson, would you tell us?
No.
Yeah.
We need to
Case
get them both in the
closed.
same room.
Wow, we'll have to make that happen at the next Con of Thrones. Invite both Neil Stephenson and the Power of Geek to stand
Put him on a
stage
panel,
side by side.
see who shows up.
That's right. Who's the real Neil Stephenson?
Well, it occurs to me that if I'm now Neil Stephenson and Jeff is George R. R. Martin, that means the rest of you must take on the mantles of famous writers too. So
That's a great
so
point.
who would you guys be? Who do you guys resemble in some way, if not physically, then in other ways?
I'm going to call dibs on Stephen King.
You do kind
I
of look
could
like
see
Stephen
that.
King.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we
Yeah.
have the same batshit crazy mind for like weirdness.
I
I
just
read
nuts.
I read Stephen King. I'm like, I see where you're coming from. It's weird, but I got you.
You see a kindred spirit.
Yeah. When The Shining, when the hotel like actually like basically starts talking, I'm like, yeah.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
I can see that.
Makes perfect sense. A talking hotel. So what
For reals.
about you, Jen?
So I don't know that I resemble any authors. Let's see. I probably would be like... Okay, do you guys know like the Babysitters Club series
Yes.
from like the 80s and 90s? I'm like one of the... Or no, actually, no, like Sweet Valley High.
Okay. Yeah.
That one. That one is the one I was trying to think of. I'm probably like one of the ghostwriters that wrote one of those books under the name of the author who wrote the first couple. That's me.
That is perfect. That's spot on.
What about you, Mike?
It's a pretty niche
Yeah.
Yeah.
answer. Not gonna lie.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's how I see my contributions and really where I am. Niche.
Perfectly niche. Yeah. Right. Wow. This is a tough question. I gotta admit. I'm like looking to my bookshelf as if it's gonna help me.
Well, that's the other problem. You know so many authors, Michael. You read so much.
He is the bookshelf stud.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. My bookshelf. I breed bookshelves for a living. Is what I do. I actually do have a Neil Stephenson book right at the bottom here. No, I think I would probably be like Dave Barry, humor columnist for the Miami Herald.
I could see that.
Wrote many funny books. Yeah, I think I'd go with Dave Barry. I'll probably look like him when I get older because he's like the most archetypically dad-looking person. So I'll sort of grow into the dad bod a little bit, and the hair will thin out. Yeah, it'll be great.
Move to
Dave
Miami.
Barry.
Move to Miami.
Move to Miami. Well, obviously I'll move to the equivalent of Miami in the new like aquatic world that Miami is going to be.
Atlantis.
New Miami, the floating city.
Yeah. The ruins of old Miami, where the doom
The
came.
doom fell.
Yeah, that's right. Exactly. Let's finish it with one, the most important, the only really important asoiaf question. What's your favorite of the books, T-Pog?
Ooh.
Or have you
think-
read them?
I would go with the Storm of Swords. Definitely my favorite. Just so much action, a lot of plot development. Kind of ends in a nice kind of crescendo of craziness and excitement. Although I did actually like A Dance with Dragons a lot as well.
Oh, that's a good answer. Okay, yeah. I mean, you said the Storm epilogue was your pick at the very beginning of the podcast, so I think that's a fitting. You're consistent. You stick to your alibi, Neil. If that's if that's even your real name. What about everyone else? We can all go around and say our favorite.
I'm not picking a book. I'm picking The Hedge Knight.
Oh.
Wow.
I was just so I picked up the audiobook version of the Knight of the Seven Kingdoms after Nikolai Coster-Waldau at Con of Thrones was talking about Harry Lloyd during their first table read.
Oh.
And because he narrates the audiobook version. So that was what prompted me to do it. And I just remembered how much I love that book. That story. It is just fantastic from start to finish.
That's a good call. That's fair.
Yeah.
Very enjoyable. Yeah.
Not as bleak.
Not quite as bleak. I mean, it's still a little bleak.
It's pretty
but like,
bleak. The ending, it's like a real bummer.
It's a little bit of a bummer. It is the JFK assassination of the Song
Who
of Ice and
swung
Fire.
them all?
Yeah.
Or the Morning Star.
See, like, that's a bittersweet ending. You know, like, that's...
Yeah.
Baylor Breakspear dies, but Egg gets to join Dunk on the road. And he thinks... that's exactly what he thinks of it, too. He said, you know, of all the tragedy at Ashford, but then he says, you know, that Egg left with me that day, too. And... That's a bittersweet ending. That's how you do bittersweet.
Nice.
Subtweeting the show.
That's showing some confidence in George, though. You know, George can do it. He can end a story. Matt, what's your favorite?
Me and Jen are gonna mind meld this one, but I'm gonna pick the entire Knight of the Seven Kingdoms.
Oh.
The whole all three novellas, Mystery Knight, Hedge Knight, and what's the third one again?
The Sworn Sword.
The Sworn
which is
Sword.
the middle one.
I think they work so well together. I really love how George writes Dunk, especially because he. This is gonna sound bad, but I like that he writes him like kind of dumb, but also very intuitive. So he always has a good sense of people, but doesn't know the plot, and it makes for an excellent POV, where he often struggles with the other way, where he has to like hide things from characters, or he has them there way too smart, so he has to make sure they're out of the way, or they're just dumb as bricks and Victorian, and it's hard to read. Dunk's like the perfect mix of emotional intelligence, but not like plotting. And I just love those three. I would say much more than any of the 5 other books.
Damn.
Like if he just said, I'm going to write Dunk and Egg until Summerhall and like screw the last 2 books, I would honestly be pretty happy.
Same.
You,
honestly,
you would probably be fairly alone in that, but that's okay.
Me and Jen would be happy.
Yeah,
Me
right.
too, Matt.
That's what's important. I'm gonna go with my favorite one is the Hungarian edition of A Feast for Crows, which I have on my desk here.
As we all should.
Varjak Lako Maja is the title of that one. Which is, of course, the 4th book in Atuz Ejegdala.
You know, there's some Hungarian. There's probably some Hungarian listeners out there who are mortally offended at this point by your mangling of their language.
Said some truly awful things in Hungarian just with those two phrases.
I would be really impressed if there were Hungarian listeners, or Hungarian native speakers, or I guess second language speakers of Beaster Monthly. Let's be real honest here.
That's true. Yeah, it's it's a beautiful edition. No, I do really like book 4. I just like Brienne and Jaime's chapters so much in that book. Like I think for me that's my like Knight of the Seven Kingdoms stuff. Like just they're kind of traveling around and their personal journeys and all that. Like I don't know. I could read those chapters all day. But I gotta admit, 3, 4, and 5 are all pretty high for me. I'm with T-Pog on book 5 as well, because nothing beats the memories of reading that for the first time.
I will say my favorite main book series is A Feast for Crows too.
Oh, Oh, now you're getting all buddy, but look, you're just
Yeah.
copying off of whatever anyone says.
That's right.
That's a bit of a hot take, really, when you think about it. Because I remember A Feast for Crows traditionally gets a lot of flack. People read it like, oh, it's great up until the Storm of Swords, and then it like really drops off, and eye rolling all the way through Feast for Crows. I didn't mind it myself. I mean, it was a little bit of a letdown after a Storm of Swords, but it was still a good novel.
Mm-hmm.
It was a
it's
different
funny
novel.
that I think that narrative has changed a lot on the subreddit, right? Like it used to be, I think, way harsher on Feast.
Yes, that's true.
And now, thanks to brain geniuses like myself, we've swung the narrative pendulum the other way, and now everyone's like, the third book's terrible, the fourth one's the best one. I don't know if anyone actually says that.
Well,
Honestly, I think the show has had a big factor in that as well, because when you're looking at it through the lens of just looking at the novels, A Feast for Crows is a bit slow because it has to pick up from like I said before, that crescendo. So, and it's got a lot of characters that people didn't used to care about, but now it's moved into a point where the show has come along, and the last few seasons, according to a lot of people, kind of tailed off, and I think people are much more sympathetic to A Feast for Crows now.
I'd agree with that.
Yeah, I think that's true. The show really shapes that.
And one thing with Feast for Crows that I think I really enjoy versus the other four is that it really feels like it has like it's actually just a one book, whereas it feels like the other ones are parts of a larger story that's going on. Like from start to finish, for A Feast for Crows, it feels like he has a point to it, where it kind of sort of works on its own. And they all fit together in an interesting way. Whereas if you read A Storm of Swords, it's like it's really great action, but you're kind of just following the characters through their stories, and they kind of link together in interesting ways. But I mean, like the overall, I'm not sure there's an overall message to A Storm of Swords other than lots of people dying.
I'm gonna hard disagree with you on that, but I think that might be a Thunderdome for another day. What do you say?
All right.
Will I see you on the lists, good sir? Will
I guess so.
Meet your sword. We may have already done that. I don't know if we've already.
I think we did this. I think we argued this out before.
It feels really familiar. Yeah. That's the other thing about the subreddit being this old too. Is we've all had these conversations plenty of times.
Yeah.
And they never get old. Never get old. Well, I think that's gonna do it for our very special 20th episode, 10th anniversary guest Lord Commander special bonus episode. That's a long title. I'll workshop that before we post it. As always, you can find us on iTunes, Google Play, Stitcher, Acast, and YouTube. You can also follow us on Facebook and Twitter at Maester Monthly. In honor of the 10th anniversary of the subreddit, if you could, smash the MF and like button 10 times. Please, 10 times. No fewer than that. Just to make sure we get in as many likes as possible. I have been Bookshelfstud, also known as Michael, one of your hosts for today.
And I have been another one of your hosts, Matt, also known as JoeMagician.
I have been Jen, also known as Jen Snow.
And I have been ThePowerOfGeek, also known as Andrew, I guess.
Also known as Neil.
And Neil, yeah.
also known as acclaimed author Neil Stephenson. Yeah. Oh, man. Thank you for coming on, Andrew. It's been a true pleasure.
Oh, thanks for having me.
Always welcome back, because you're the Lord Commander, and you can make
we
us,
can't stop him.
Yeah,
just get on
we have
us.
no legal power to stop him. The power's going to his head. Quickly, end the episode. Thank you, everyone, for listening. Thank you, Redditors, all members of the Song of Ice and Fire subreddit for the last 10 years for making such wonderful content to talk about, to keep us here hanging out. And may there be another 10 years of shit posting on the internet together.
Thank you to all of the subscribers and to all of the mods. Made it a real community, and we wouldn't be where we are, including the mod cast here, but just in the subreddit, we wouldn't be where we are without all of you guys.
Well said. Yeah, it's very true. Thank you all for listening. You will hear from us pretty soon.